Hello and welcome to another one of my videos, and in this video I'm actually going to be swapping out my Nosram 21 engine, which I've got in my Hyper 7 at the moment, and swapping it with this nice new Force 36 engine which I've got. And basically the reason I'm doing this is one, the Nosram engine is discontinued, so in years to come when I do need to change the piston and liner, it's going to be a right hassle trying to find one. Secondly is practicality, because this engine doesn't have a pull start. Primarily it's a race engine, and it was in a race buggy before I got it. So this means I have to drag a starter box around whenever I want to use this vehicle. So that means charging batteries, extra weight when I'm carrying it around. It's just a right pain. So this engine has a pull start, which is just way easier and more practical for what I'm doing, because I'm not racing, I'm just basically going around having fun with my cars, and that's all I want to do. So the first things when you're changing out an engine is basically take all the ancillaries off the engine to get it out of the car. So the exhaust comes off, and in these cars it's basically just a spring wrapped around the engine, and you take the little grub screw which is in the exhaust and loosen it off the exhaust mount. Easy enough. Yet again, fuel lines, pop them off the exhaust and the engine, frees up space, and also you need the fuel line off the carburetor to remove the engine. Disconnect the throttle linkage from the actual carburetor, and also unscrew the engine off the base of the vehicle, which I've already done just because it's simple enough to unscrew a few screws, and I'm pretty sure most of you are competent with an Allen key, so I'm not going to bore you with all that. Sorry about that, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat. When you're actually unscrewing this, the reason why I've done it the way I have is I don't have a long enough Allen key for these bolts to do it when I'm in the car, or when the engine's actually situated in the car. So I've basically just unbolted the main engine mounts off the chassis, and then I'll undo all these bolts off the engine as it is here, and then put them on the new engine. So first thing we're going to need is the Allen key, which I've put down somewhere. There it is, and misplaced. So I'll just quickly do this, and I'll fast forward it for you, because I'm sure all you are more than competent enough to undo a few bolts. So back in a sec. Okay, now I've got the engine mounts off the actual old engine. Basically all these engine mounts consist of is a main mount which mounts the chassis, and then there's a little T-section groove in there which holds, in this case, a spacer and two nuts. These can be a bit of a pain to line up when you're mounting the new engine, but a little bit of patience and you'll get there easy enough. And always remember to keep the little spring washers with the bolts on them, because those basically stop them from loosening off. And the last thing you want is the engine loosening off and moving around, because that can spoil your spur gear and your clutch belt and cause damage that you don't want. So the next stage, which I will move the car off the table for, so I've actually got a bit more room to play with. Stick it on the floor and bring both the engines in. First thing I'm going to do is basically do a comparison between this engine and this one. And first off, we can see there's a very considerable size difference. If I put it up here, we can just see the size difference in the actual engine blocks themselves. And it is quite a beast of an engine, to be honest. We can also see the comparisons between a race two-stroke RC car engine and just basically a bog standard basher engine. The reason why a lot of these race engines don't have starts on the back is to improve airflow within the crankcase, and basically helps direct the fuel better. As we can see, there's little lumps on the underside within this casing, and basically that's where the transfer ports for the engine are directing fuel up into the piston, and this gives a better flow around the actual skirt, which gives you more power. When you actually have a when you have a pull start or an easy start on the back, you then have to have another cam, or crank I should say, which then opens up this space even more. It disturbs the actual flow of the charge going into the piston via the crankcase, And it also means that you'll have a bearing and shaft on here that energy is actually getting used just trying to spin that shaft and overcome the friction on the one-way bearing of the starter, whereas in this case it doesn't. It just goes, basically uses all the power it needs to turn through the bearings, but all that power that would be used to turn the actual shaft going to the pull start or whatever is actually used to power the car along, which is always an up, and when you're racing you want every bit of power you can get, obviously. But when you're just like me, you want to bash around, you want it easy, you want to start it quick, pull start's the best way. And to be honest, how big this engine is, I think having a pull start on it is very minimal. So, yeah. So, that's basically the comparison between the two. Now, the things that I'm going to have to do before I put the engine in the car is firstly, swap the clutch bell from this car onto this one along with the flywheel and the clutch. And I'm also going to have to turn this carburetor around because the carburetor's the wrong way around, so that's just as easy as just undoing that little screw on the side and flipping it around. So I'll find the right Allen key, which I think's that one, and just quickly do that. And this is basically just a pressure screw, so you just unloosen it a slight bit. Actually, I'll have to take it fully out because I'm not going to have enough room to spin that. So just take it out. Oops, a daisy. Don't lose all the bits. There's a little seal there. So stick you there, and you should just come out. This hasn't been... this engine's new, so it's all a bit tight, so just stick that out. And when I've actually got the opportunity, what I'm going to do is my little magic liquid gasket. I'm just going to stick a tiny bit of this on around the sealing faces, just to make sure we don't have any air leaks in the future. So this is just basically dabbing it around there, and just make sure you don't get tons of it on. You just want a very small layer and just a bit on there. Once that's done, I'll just wipe my fingers on this rag here. Once that's done, make sure I've got the carburetor the right way. Yep. So we're wanting the actual throttle to be on the opposite side now, and we'll just push this in. Make sure it's nice and tight, like so. That should be it. We then first start off with the little gasket that was on the engine, and then we'll put back the screw which was holding it all in place. So we'll just slip that in there and screw it in nice and tight. And there's the first job done. Make sure it is nice and tight in there. It's, of course, you can get air leaks through this mechanism there, and then that's not going anywhere there. Should really have twisted that a bit more, but I won't. That'll do me. It's slightly off cant, but no.